exactly sure whether you will hear me already, so feel free to drop down in the comments because it's my first time I'm doing live. Hello. So as always, you know when you watch some streaming and then someone starts to apologize for doing something maybe wrong way, so that's exactly the case this time. As always, you know when you watch some streaming and then someone starts to apologize for doing wonder where it is. Let me know in the comments because that's exactly what I'm. So you already seen some visuals on screen while the live started, so I added some statistics based on wonder where it is this year, so that you could give a better picture of where I've been and what races I'm participating, and at the same time what this video is about. Don't worry, it won't be all about stats, it will have something well, but the whole idea of this video is going to be we will go through the stage races, what we participate here. I will give you a brief introduction of what it's about, and then it will be all the live session will be all yours. Oh, music. Okay, we'll go through the stage. That was from the video, and that was only from the intro video, so from that point it should be all fine. I also wonder how long the delay is, so kind of removed it that we won't have any, but anyways it will still appear a bit. So where I left the stage races, so there were 6 stage races over the whole season, and also a few single day events, so the whole live session will be pretty much yours. If you have any questions, I will cover those accordingly, but nonetheless we currently see the data from the races. One thing to point out is that compared to last year, I almost absolutely haven't. Okay, music still playing. So we will remove it here, and now it will be fine. Hopefully. So the countries in Poland, compared to last year, I almost haven't raced at all this year, pretty much because last year it was exhausted almost up to the maximum. I've been in bike adventure as well as that MTB challenge. The only remaining race which I haven't been last year was Mouflon tracks, but I've been in that last 2023. So basically that was a bit left behind this year, but the Spain took another level this year and I spent quite a lot of time there. So we'll see everything from the first view, but now we can probably jump straight into, well, unless you want to cover any specifics of these stats. So let me know, I could later show this as well, but we can jump straight into first stage race. Basically, while I'm kind of pausing a bit, is just to make sure that what you see is what I'm actually talking about. So once we cover that, will be all good. So you will see now statistics from Costa Blanca bike race, and there will be a few different sections about that. But first things first is orange color is just casual race, stage race. The blue one is individual time trial, so that way you will get a clear picture why some bars are so short, tiny, or the durations are very low, etc. So that will give you a clear understanding on that. And actually I can turn off myself for now so you could see. Oops. Wrong way. Sorry about that. So basically, at the bottom, you will also see a visual where it will show the lowest of season races, as well as the average of that specific stage race, and the maximum of all races I participated this year. Basically, the reason why I added that is to have comparison between the stage races, and I will later post it on Instagram. So if you are not following me on Instagram just yet, it's quite a good time to do it right now, because I will give you visual comparison between stage races. And actually I'm kind of going a bit ahead of myself, but it turned out quite nicely, because you can like very clearly get a picture of how races compare in terms of time, elevation, distance, also my watts, my performance, how it degraded or increased over the days. So that was kind of my idea of those visualizations, and they will appear later for better comparison. But nonetheless, if you have any questions about Costa Blanca bike race, now it's the time to drop them down. I've been in this race 2 times, in 2024 and 2025, and 2026 upcoming already. I never been in the race back to back to back 3 times, but I think that this year is going to be exactly that time, because previous 2 years were kind of similar in terms of race courses. They were switched a bit, like one day mixed with the other, etc. But this year in 2026 they will introduce a bit different race courses from our region in around, if you are aware of Costa Blanca region in general. In the past, well, for last 2-3 years, it was around Calpe city, so basically race start in the same place most of the days, and you go around the mountains there, while this year they introduced more around Benissa for the first stage, which will be absolutely different, and also Altea region, where race happened in the past. Costa Blanca bike race had some places there in late 20s, I guess, late 9, whatever. So basically, because the race course has changed for 2026, I think that's good enough reason to return there again. And the reason why I go into this race is because the terrain is absolutely different from what you can find anywhere else. It's very technical, and it's just very good reason to step up your game on the skills as well as technique while riding the mountain bike. Also, as you can see, the views are not too shabby as well, so that's kind of not necessarily the main reason why you should go there, but it's kind of something as well. So yeah, I mean, I could talk about it a lot, but it would be just simpler if you ask questions, if you have any about that. But it's worth noting that about most of those races, we've been doing race analysis. Either I'm alone or with Jake from Top Cycling, and we've been doing that for most of the races this season. And funny thing is that exactly on Costa Blanca bike race, I met with Jake. So it kind of like always does. When you race, you can also find some new friends. And with Jake, it was funny story. He first found me through Instagram and just offered me to go for a ride to check some race courses. And we kind of get together quite well. And after the race finished, we also decided to start podcast, which is Crafted for Speed, where we talked for 5 or 6 episodes already about cycling and all sorts of things, nutrition, training, blah, 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 a lot of stuff. And thing to mention is that Jake was ex-pro road cyclist, and then he decided to, well, once he quit his cycling career in road, he decided to explore mountain bike more, and yeah, he created also a platform for training. So Top Cycling, it's not exactly relevant about Costa Blanca bike race, but still we met there and we kind of have a history together as well. So it's worth noting that in 2024 Jake broken his thumb, I guess, exactly in this race. He been there for the first time, and he still managed to finish it. So he returned in 2025. That's kind of showcase that even though it doesn't necessarily go well in the first go, you can always come back next year if you liked what you experienced there, or not necessarily you liked broken finger, but you still want and can't go again there and try to see whether there is good reason enough to come back. And funny enough, a lot of guys come back there. So I have kind of quite a few friends already in Spain. So shout out to Pedro, as well as, well, our Lithuanian goes there. So Arturas, shout out to you as well. He's going there for 4 times already, I guess. There are other guys. Gorka, shout out to you. And in general, it's just, I wouldn't say very super friendly environment because everyone is super competitive. But if you want, you can find basically anything there, not only the racing. And you can see that I have kind of few holes on my side there. And that happened on stage 4 where I crashed on the tarmac, but managed to finish still. But nonetheless, it's extremely technical race, and again, I could talk about it quite a lot of time. Actually, with Jake, we did about this race, I guess, 2 hours race analysis. You know, it's a bit different when you're doing something together with someone who also did that race. So it's like sharing the perspective, how you went there, how you did that trail, etc. And it's kind of, that's why it took that long. But nonetheless, Costa Blanca bike race, I've been there 2 times. Third is kind of ongoing in my mind already. It's actually, today is 29th, so it's exactly 1 month up to the start of 2026 event. So if you have any plans to go there, you are free to get in touch, ask questions if you have, but at least for now you don't have those. So I could just stop talking that you could have time to make questions, or if everything is clear about Costa Blanca bike race and you want to continue going, just let me know and I will continue from that. Yeah, you have seen here the images from, well, organizers have those photo shoots, but they are paid, I guess. I don't remember now, but 40 euros or so for whole 4 days package. So it's quite well priced compared to what you can find elsewhere, but about that we will go throughout this video. So yeah, Costa Blanca bike race happens in end of January as well as beginning of February. it kind of might seem that it's bad time to start racing there in the beginning of the year if you are especially in the Eastern Europe. But I would say there's never a good time for that. And unless you are that good that you're competing for top positions, then you just can start preparing on the indoor trainer if you want to. But nevertheless, basically, you are just missing out if you're not going to such race, because it will always most likely happen in the beginning of year. So you'll miss all the possible chances out there. So Mr. Tulo asking about any hotel tips. There are a few options. So basically, there is a partnership with Hotel Diamante in Calpe, where specifically race organizer has some spots for riders to like get the better price maybe to get that hotel. But in general, personally, I always look for apartments in the region. Last year, we took a house together with our friend, so you can just share the cost together and even get a better deal for that case. But I think, well, it depends on the person itself, but for me, it's just better to have apartment where I can prepare my meal, have breakfast at the time I want. I don't have any problems preparing that for the lunch or the dinner. It's just easier, in my opinion. Other way around, yeah, there are like Diamante is on the coast up north from the rock, the Calpis rock. Our thing is there's other hotel around there. So basically, if you're up to hotels, that's where to look at. All the way around, just find something through Airbnb or Booking. Well, it's not very good idea to start doing it at this current time, because usually booking something up front gives you a better price, but I'm pretty sure that there is still possibility to find good deal and appear there. About Jake, hello. About transportation to that place, it's very convenient. The closest airport is Alicante if you fly from anywhere in Europe, and then it's 1 hour trip to reach Calpe. There's also buses which goes there directly, or with one transfer at the Benidorm, but you basically don't need to do anything else, just go to our bus. And it's 1 hour way around. You can always be fancy and order some shuttles. So there are plenty of options. That's kind of very choosable cycling destination during the winter. So you'll find for sure. Are we riding it in 2026? That's a good question, Jake, which most likely is positive. But we also have with Jake some secrets, which is not exactly the right time to reveal just yet, but be sure to check in upcoming probably weeks already, and you'll figure those out from the first seats if you are around. Now, with that being said, Costa Blanca bike race, you could maybe, if you will figure out that, I wanted to ask that thing, you could do that at the end. But just to make this flowy, we can go to the second race, which was maybe if someone were very attentive, maybe you already know what it could have been, which race I went after Costa Blanca bike race, which happened in January. So there was quite a window out there. And then I decided to go to one race, which is very competitive. A lot of strong guys goes there. I know that Pros goes into that race for preparation for the XCO season. So I'm not going to wait any more longer, and I will give you some of the clues. that it was the race which I had high recommendations from Andreas Dolgovas, the coach with whom I've been training for last 4 years. So he been in this race and he said that if you are going to appear in top 100 in GC, that will be a win. I managed to do that, so that's kind of a win of my type. But nonetheless, the courses there are amazing. It's really XCO alike because in a lot of places you get quite technical sections, a lot of single tracks, and depending whether you will be lucky or not, it can get either dry or not exactly dry, as you will see in the images out there where I'm kind of a bit in mud as well. So it depends how lucky you will be, but the race happens. Well, actually, I can mention that in these videos there will be also maps where we'll have like visual reveal of the race courses. For each, they will slightly differ because during the season I experimented a bit, but nonetheless you will get an idea about that. Oh, I'm not visible. Yeah, so you will get like visual clues about the race courses as well. And talking about the data, maybe you have any questions about that. So by looking in those visuals, maybe some questions arise. For example, why I was with lower power on the second day or whatever. But this race is very intense. It depends from the year. Last year in 2024, they made it only 2 stages. This year it was 3 stages. In 2026 it's going to be 2 again. Personally, I'm kind of the person who wants a bit more from the traveling, because I come from Lithuania. It's kind of far stretch to go out there. And with that in mind, I kind of want to either go a bit into the exploration mode to ride there, find some new things, etc., or just race for a bit more than 2 days. So in 2026, probably most likely 99% I won't be there. But I would strongly recommend, if you are around or you want to experience something a bit different, so that race is really technical. And we did by stage race analysis with Jake. So the reason why I'm kind of mentioning the race analysis from the past in this is there are extensive details about every stage, about my tactics during the stage, what I chose to do for the beginning of the stage, how I chosen to either bonk or not bonk. Well, it's not by choice, but usually it's by what occurs during the day. But nonetheless, those were really detailed. And it's basically, I can be honest with you, is that those videos are getting too low views in general. I get that people more or less want to see things about themselves rather than someone exploring something, but it can be really beneficial, and we will get into that for last stage race of this season, why it's beneficial, and while it's not necessarily we're just talking, but nonetheless, not because the views are low. It's just a good material to either learn something new, learn something about the race course, or just get into different perspectives. So I'm not promoting that, but I kind of giving you a second chance to get there and watch it if you haven't had a chance, because this specific race is very technical, different than Costa Blanca because the terrain is different, not so loose, more like clay-like terrain, but yeah, still hard nut to crack. I don't know. I really like those visuals. What about you? Do you think that I made a good job there? I need some praise for the effort, but nonetheless, it's just like break down so nicely the profile of the race. So even though like some stages are longer, you can see from the speed that they were faster. That means that it was just easier to, well, easy is the relative thing. I have some questions out there. Comparing last December with this December, yes, Jake. I think that last year during December, I also rode quite a lot of outside, but it was a bit more messy and a bit less effort. And this year, because last year in January I was a bit of disappointed how it turned out to be. This time I took a bit different approach, and I've been riding, I can't say more structurally, but I added more intensity because I feel great. And it's just time to get to work. Worth noting that currently in Lithuania it's winter. Well, winter is everywhere, but it was mostly around 0 degrees or so, and now it's getting into full swing. Today it started snowing. So I think that we have 2 more days left to finish the year, and I might be able to survive without the Zwift for the whole year. So it's kind of achievement for me, but I'm already a bit tired of going all muddy and all that stuff because it's not cold. But yeah, to answer that, I think that I'm doing better, and I will be better in January as well. I wish I will, and I will do everything that would be a result of my efforts. Yeah, about the energy expenditure, so kilojoules, that's exactly what Jake asked me in some comment, I guess, in Instagram. And I decided that, hell yeah, that's a good thing to be added. And I'm not going to bother you anymore longer with those data points, and I will just show you some more images from the event. How I managed to recover so quickly from one stage to the next. Well, it depends. We can think about it like first race was in January, other was in April, so it's kind of a long stretch, isn't it? But nonetheless, yes, there are some times when I go to the races without too long window between them, and that kind of ruins my preparation for it, where I basically have not enough time to just build something on top of what I already have. And other times, there's still, during this season, I think that I avoided the big terminal like DNFs in the races because I felt like terribly. But nonetheless, in Trilogy this year, I'm going a bit ahead of myself, but there was stage race which I done in 1 month time frame from one to another, and in between I did Hero Dolomite. So that was probably the tipping point where I understood that, all right, so I should have had a bit more rest. But nonetheless, when you have fitness, I think it's just a matter of how fast you want to go. And based on that, it will depend whether you want to have better preparation and less races, which is not the case for me. I'd rather go a bit more while I can, while I physically can, to like get to that fatigue levels and still be able to live my daily life, while other than that, try to reach something in terms of a result. Well, I always try, but then you are not like planning your season throughout the standpoint that, all right, this will be my top race, etc. It's a bit different. So to answer that, I don't necessarily always recover properly for the race, but that's just simply because I want to experience as much as possible rather than trying to preserve something for the matter of ego. And that's not who I am. And that's why I go into more races. Yeah, so race analysis, apart from that, I'm saying that because those videos are which I've done, I really spent a lot of time to polish them, that they would be watchable from our blobbing with Jake. But yeah, they're really packed with good stuff, and I highly suggest to have a look at them. Yeah, so we will cover next season plans or goals or whatever, maybe towards the end of this video, so to not get too much ahead of ourselves. But again, while I'm talking, if you have any questions about what you're seeing on the screen, like while you are going here through the bushes, or why you're so muddy, or did you want that sprint at the finish, so you are free to ask those. And while I just wait before we go to our stage race, because you are not asking questions, feel free to ask questions. This video is precisely not about me, but about you getting those answers. So if you are not going to ask, I won't have what to answer, and yeah, you'll just miss that opportunity. And nonetheless, usually I'm very responsive on the comments section on YouTube, on Instagram, DMs, whatever, because I think that it serves the purpose. If someone's asking, I'm there to answer, and I just think that that's how it's supposed to be. So if you ever have questions, even not necessarily now, you are free to ask them, and you are pretty much guaranteed that they will be answered, unless I will start being cocky and I want, but I can't see that coming anytime soon. One last thing, at the right corner you can see kind of new URL which you haven't seen in the past. So that's the website which I'm planning to release in the beginning of next year. So there's some information out there what you can do in order to be notified about that. So I would strongly suggest you to go there, do what you have to do if you are interested about MTB stuff. And because you are here, I assume that you are, unless you are just came there by accident. That way, too bad for you. Now you'll be hooked and you won't have possibility to get back from there. So I can't help it. After the Wildcat, I came back home. It was in April, and I did few races in Lithuania, local ones, single day events, about which I will cover a bit later. But nonetheless, I think that, yeah, I can point out that this season I did less single day event races, which in the past was kind of my main things which I've been doing, and stage races were just secondary thing. The reason why I decided to reduce amount of daily races throughout the season is not because like I think that place is not good enough for me. No, it has nothing to do with that. And people think that way, so I'm just debunking that myth. I just made a decision that I would rather save that time and the effort to plan going to different races elsewhere, stage races, rather than go every single weekend into the race, local one, whatever, in the region, in our countries around, and then don't have basically time for anything else. So that's kind of the reason why I decided to reduce amount of races, single day events around my place. And it kind of backfired a bit at me. Main reason is because I lost sharpness in such races where we go XC or marathons in Lithuania. Takes 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. Well, all right, 3 hours. So you kind of go most of the time full gas out there. And that means you kind of push your anaerobic engine. I'm sorry. Engine is the term which you will hear a lot of times from Jake in Crafted for Speed podcast. So I'm kind of taking the lessons from the coach, Jake, and using his lingo. So with that being said, I kind of lost that sharpness. And in races like Hero, where we go for 6-7 hours, you basically don't have you are just going aerobically rather than anaerobic, and that's where you lose that sharpness. Okay, one question. Yeah, so with Antanas Jurevičius, we've been doing 2 regaining races this year in late autumn, and I loved it. Basically, I'm the man. Well, if you see my visuals, you'll get an idea that I love maps. I love planning things out. I plan the routes, etc., and doing what I love. Kind of not saying the most, but matching those things, riding, maps, thinking, which is also one of my core values, that man has to think rather than not. It was amazing. So I think that in new season, regaining won't be left behind, and I will try to do some races to go around Tanas for sure, because it's a pairs race most often. But if you don't know what regaining is, you are just basically orienteering on the bike. And most often, I guess, well, it's not necessarily throughout the city, around the city, but we've been doing in those races where we have just secret place, not secret. You have a legend, you have the map, and you have no navigation device to reach that point. And you just try to reach that point on the map. So I loved it, and I think that I will have to repeat it again. There are a few videos on the channel as well about that, so road gaining, check it out. Third stage race, we're already in the third stage race, which is Rally di Romagna. I think di Romagna, it already says that this happened in Italy. I've never been in Italy in the past, and I always wanted to well, this region is a bit different from what you would expect to find in Italy, but I still wanted to reach the Italy first, and then I will see how things goes. So Rally di Romagna appeared on my radar. Amazing race for those who are like getting into stage racing or want more relaxed atmosphere. I'm not saying that guys are not competitive. Top 20 is going full gas like nothing. But nonetheless, it's just more chilly environment, not so pushing with the elbows, etc. thing. But it's 5 days, kind of a lot of kilometers, quite some trails in the forest, and the surroundings well apart that it's Italy, very alike where I live in Colautua, where we have like steep slopes. Mountains are, of course, bigger ones. But yeah, the trails were great. There were quite a lot of easy sections. We can't call those easy. We're going to tarmac, but it was beneficial because you just cool yourself down. All of that is covered in race analysis as well, so I'm trying not to repeat myself. But you can see that there are only 4 bars, while the race itself was 5 stages. How so? So on the 4th stage, I had some illness, probably food poison, and I was just not able to get at the starting line that day. Yeah, so I just picked myself up and tried and did my best to go on the 5th stage, and I managed to do that. But yeah, Rally di Romagna, I think, is amazing starting point for anyone who wants to experience mountains, not too huge ones, and at the same time have great time in general. The region itself is in Salso Maggiore Terme. The starting city is in a single place. and you basically go loops around the region. It's Emilia Romagna, which, if we look at the map, is between Milan and Bologna, in between a bit more towards the southwest. So yeah, it's like very different as well. If I would have to compare it with something alike, I would say that Volcat has some things which this also has, but this is less extreme. So if you don't want, well, those images which you are seeing here might look like you would still be able to kill yourself in some areas, but nonetheless, those are really tiny compared to what you can find anywhere else. So I would strongly suggest to consider that for your, not necessarily starting point. I always say that some races are a bit easier than the other, but easy is relative how hard you push. If you want to fight for the podium, it won't be easy, never, ever. And good luck fighting for the podium here, where the top guys are like climbing like goats. But nonetheless, go there, try, and you can see and tell me also how it went. Yeah, so Jake's asking whether I plan to go to any of XCM from Hero series. It's a good... What? Oh, there were some technical difficulties, I guess. Not sure where you have left and where I disappeared. But nonetheless, about the Hero, I'm not sure where we heard that as well. But Jake was asking, am I going to do any from Hero? And most likely, I don't know yet. There is one which happens in Costa Blanca. The race course, I have it in Instagram, is pretty much Costa Blanca bike race on steroids put in single day. I think 80 plus kilometers with 3K of elevation almost would be like killer. So I don't know. Oh no, Jake was talking about different thing. XCM. All right, we will get to that later. I will keep that in mind because we will still be covering our thing. And the reason why I kind of mixed those topics is because you mentioned Dolomite, and yeah, Mythos is going in Dolomite as well, happening in Dolomite as well. So if you are going to XCM World Champ in Mythos, you have the one and the only onboard on YouTube about that race. How that happened, I don't know. But basically, I came to that race without asking permission to record, and that's how we have that on board. I think everyone was just very interested in fighting for the best spot and going fast rather than carrying cameras, power banks, etc. So after Rally de Romania, what we can cover next? I think I haven't seen any comments about Rally de Romania. If you have any questions about any race which I'm covering out there, you are free to ask, because otherwise you will not have that Intel access anytime soon, and you won't be able to plan your race calendar for the upcoming year. So that's also kind of the reason why I made this video, is to be able to cover things before people plan their, well, not before, but to help people plan their race calendars if they are planning to go somewhere else. Because quite often I receive comments like, what's your favorite race? Where you would recommend to go for me next year, etc. I'm always happy to answer those. At the same time, it's quite difficult to do that because what the? Um, what I was saying? Oh, about the races. So the reason why it's hard to suggest the race for someone is because everyone's preference is different. And unless you tell me exactly what you like, or what you're looking for, maybe you like gravel marathons, but you want to step up your game and you want to go into technical race, then for sure I can tell you that. But if you like gravel marathons and you want to have similar races, well, I will cover myself. If you want to have like a similar complexity race without getting outside of your comfort zone, then you have to tell me that, because otherwise I would suggest you to go, I don't know, Ibiza Vuelta, Ibiza MTB, and then you will get back and will tell me, yeah, there were some gravels, but did you want it to kill me or what? So of course, everyone is doing their own due diligence for preparation for the race, etc. But it just helps to tailor something for your needs. Yeah, so there is a question about whether I travel to races by car, or do I do that? I will open that. Or do I do that all the way around? If the race is happening within 1,000 kilometers from my home place, with my dense teeth, I drive there by car. If it's anywhere farther than that, I fly by plane. There are quite few reasons for that. I don't have car yet, which I would be able to go those distances comfortably. I have Audi S5 Coupe, so while it's nice for 1,000 kilometers, it's already other than that, I think that for races of this kind, you have to take into account a few things. How much time do you have? How much you want to explore surroundings during travel, etc. And yeah, basically, even with that in mind, I wouldn't drive to Spain or France or anywhere in South Europe, Southwest, by car 3,000 kilometers to one direction, A to B, and then the same distance back, simply because I don't have that much time to go those trips. And at the same time, it's not financially wise thing to do. If you can buy ticket for with bike luggage for 120 to 300, let's say, to one side, and you can appear there in with all the transfers stuff, etc., in 8 hours, it would take you 3 days, 2 days. Well, some drives 18 hours and say that it's fine. I don't think that I don't think that way. And I'm like, if you are doing that, it's absolutely fine. I have no objections on that. Personally, I wouldn't do that because I value my health. I value others surrounding me health as well. And also, I don't enjoy that much. I like driving car for the sake of driving rather than going from A to B. But at the same time, if I would have unlimited amount of time, well, unlimited is like also relative, but I think that if I would choose to explore things while driving from A to B, and I would have time to sightsee, enjoy like riding in the area where I pass through, then it's an option. And actually, this season, I went to Czech Republic, which will shortly go there, but now on screen you have single day events. So if you have any questions about those, feel free to ask me about those. But from Lithuania to Czech Republic, it's 1,000 kilometers. And in the middle, I did one race just as a training. I stopped there, did the race, just spent one night around and continued going. Now, Jake is an animal, and he arrived 3,000 kilometers from Saturday till Monday afternoon. The only benefit is that once you reach that place, you have a car and you have that flexibility. So there are pros, there are cons, but for me, there are more cons than pros. So that's why I'm flying with plane most often. Yeah, so you can see single day events. There were only few. There were also some time trial events in Lithuania, which I did, which was blokadas. So there were like 4 attempts of those. But other than that, those are pretty much all the races which I did this year. Yeah, so that's also the thing. But at the same time, Jake just basically mentioned what I said, that if you compare the pricing with the rental car, etc., in the end of the day, you get kind of status quo even. But what is the reason you are going there by car? Do you need that car in the location? If you're going there and you want to explore things in the region, yes, the car is kind of beneficial. But if you're going there just to ride bike, for instance, or you don't necessarily need to rent a car for a whole duration. You can rent a car for 3 days, 5 days, and only when you need it. But then there are some other things, like you have to make sure that the shop for groceries is somewhere around and you don't have to carry 2 kilometers something. Well, it sounds like it's not something, but in the end of the day, for example, in Spain, it is suggested to carry, drink water from the shop. Well, locals drink it from anywhere, but then you accommodate that. In the end of the day, grocery stores is the luxury when you have a car. Well, or other way around, when you have grocery store near your doors, it's like very good thing to happen. Hero Dolomites, Mythos, blah 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 blah. Anyone wants to know anything more about those? Because we are going away from them and you won't be able to see them. Well, I can actually show you some images. Maybe that will help you to decide, because those were nice. That's a good question about who helps me. It depends. There are basically 2 scenarios. I can go to the race either alone or with my wife. So if I'm with wife, that's definitely simplifying things a lot. But if I go alone, this year I went alone to 3 stage races, Volcats, Colina, and Trilogy. So I've been alone there. Well, what can you do when you're alone? You are doing everything on your own. And this year, when I've been in Volcat, I kind of considered okay, so if something happens, somehow that idea came to my mind, because the race is technical. You can break something or whatever. For the first time, that idea came to my mind. And how will I return back home if something happens? But it was just thought which disappeared quite fast. But once I went to other race, you will figure out what ideas I had in my mind when I went there alone. Yeah, Antanas wrote the comment there. Antanas J3160, which is basically, he kind of just made it out loud what others think. So so why are not going to local races, blah 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 blah. So I will at some point. But the idea is that I'm trying to get the most of the time I have now in order to be able to reach those places which not necessarily I will have flexibility to reach in upcoming years, for example. So that's kind of my idea in mind, that local races you can do basically anytime, where you don't necessarily have flexibility to fly to Spain any given day. So that's kind of the answer. So yeah, single day events. I've been few to mention, few to note. Hero Dolomites, very famous, very known race, very hard one, 4K plus of elevation, almost 90 kilometers. So we have race analysis with Jake about it. Surprise, surprise. And we covered a lot of things there. I was already in Italy to do this race, so that was kind of the reason why I decided to go there. But other than that, I still went for a single day event in Mythos, which I haven't thought I am going to do. The reason being is just very hard to justify the cost involved to go for a single day race event. But I did it because I just wanted to explore how the XCM world scores could look like. That's one thing. The other is that that's exactly the reason why I went with wife, so that way we could explore more of the region, sightseeing, hiking, etc. So when those things are combined into one, it's a lot easier to spend, I don't know, 2K for a week of two, or even more. Honestly, I try not to calculate dollar to dollar, euro to euro, how much I spent in those, because I'm pretty sure I know that it's hard to justify that. Let's just call it this way. It will be just easier. I don't know which picture it was, because Wheelie. No, it's not. It's Orbea. I think that picture should have been that picture. Orbea or is. Okay, so somehow connection was lost, but it got back. So fingers crossed. Maybe I was talking a bit too much about single day events, so we can cut it off and continue going to our stage race, which I've been at, which is this one. Let me know if the connection has fixed, because I assume it does, but just to make sure that I'm not talking. Also, I think my camera might shut off at some point, but nonetheless, I will just continue going without me being seen visually, so you can still make any questions if you have some. So very much, hopefully, it got back on track. So after Hero, I came back home and decided to go to MTB Trilogy in Czech Republic. Well, yeah, there are just too many pieces involved while doing podcast. And it's not everything is in your control, but not necessarily during the race everything is your control neither. So I've been in MTB Trilogy, very hard race in Czech Republic, 4 days stage race, where in the first day you have prologue, and then 3 extremely hard races with a lot of elevation and long days in the saddle. Would I recommend that race to anyone else? Absolutely not. Simply because I saw people making comments about this race like, yeah, it's a challenge. I'm not capable of doing it, but it's nice. If you're okay walking for 10 minutes, okay, 5 minutes, down the single track, I mean, definitely everything is doable. The matter of fact is just how long you'll have to walk. And there I had to walk a lot. And even though I kind of like technical races, but there, I'm not saying that the race is bad. The race is amazing. The only difference is that the conditions were extremely dry. And that made it, I don't know, 2 times harder than it should have been. But even with that in mind, if it turned out that the conditions would be perfect to ride, there are still places which I wouldn't be able to do, honestly, because it's just the difference between the skills needed and the skills and the bravery which you have. So can't help it, but I would strongly suggest to explore this race if you are into hard stuff. And you can also see, based on the calories spent, kilojoules, that it was very hard race. I think that top 20 guys, some did the parts, but definitely not everyone. I think it's also the matter of getting used to the very slippery terrain where you have a lot of gravels where like 20-25% down a slope, and then there is very loose stones on such steep slopes. You know that you won't be able to stop, and then you can see that in front there is basically nothing hanging you out there. You have to just make decisions whether you want to risk or you don't want to. So I made a decision don't, and I walked a lot. There is onboards, like worth noting that for anything which I'm talking here, there are onboards for every race. So you can explore those on your own if you want to. Full race onboard, and you can see that, keep in mind that camera does not portray what actually is there. There are places where you just can't stop, literally. So you either fall on the side, or you just I don't know, try to survive. Some places I tried, others I decided that it's better not to. And also it's worth noting that what I mentioned, I also carried a lot of fatigue to this race. So it was not necessarily only physical one, but also a cognitive one, where I even in some places didn't went where I could because I just been tired of all that stress throughout the day for 5 hours in the saddle, 3 days in a row. Well, not all the days were 5 hours, but it's just stressful when you always have to carry for your life. High elevation races requires for you to be either on the spot for the race earlier. Well, there is a question about going into races which are on the higher altitude. There's also techniques which I know people do for the heat training, where they, after workout, they do some additional stuff like indoors. If you would do it, it would be without the cooling, and you do some specific session to end that. I'm not doing that personally, but whenever I have a chance, when I go to altitude, I try to get to that place a bit earlier. Well, technically, I guess it's from 2 weeks to 4 weeks to get acclimatized fully, depending on your body. Definitely, most likely. minority has that luxury to go there to before the race that early. So for me, even 1 week is like a lot what I can spend to that for that purpose. So I'm not entitled to give advices which gives which is about performance. Jay could answer that a lot better, I guess. And to be honest, in the Hero podcast, not podcast, in Race Analysis about the Hero Dolomites, we talked about that quite a lot, and Jake made some suggestions how you can make it possible. Basically, the thing is that the Hero starts at 1,600 or 400, but anyways, you basically whole day are around 2k of elevation, and in some places you also go to 2.3. Some says that there is no difference. I think that they are lying. There is some difference for sure, and that difference for me personally starts already at 1k. I can feel the difference coming to some race from flatland, because I also live in flatland. It's 30 meters of sea level out there where I'm at. So I definitely feel that. Yeah, so MTB Trilogy. No one wants to hear any stories about that. I'm surprised. If not, then we are moving to what we are moving to. Okay, we are going to our race, which is amazing one. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that I have discounts for some of those races, and Colina is one of them. I also have something for you for Costa Blanca bike race, which is 10% off from your registration. So if you're planning to go into Costa Blanca bike race, I will leave somewhere in description after the live finishes discount code so you can use it. I don't know, maybe in the future I'll have more of those for you to offer, so that's also kind of good reason to go to the website, which URL you can see at the bottom right corner. I most likely will share info that or on Instagram. So it's kind of, if you're into mountain bike in general, it's beneficial to be around, because you might get some additional things apart from the videos only. And talk about Colina Triste, it happens in Spain again, around 200 kilometers or so from Madrid to the north, near the Burgos. And again, I mean, it's very hard to believe, but the every race is just different in Spain. You can find some similarities, but it's just mind-blowing how different things can be in the single country. But for sure, we are talking about the size of a country, which is huge. So Colina is very dry. I don't know whether there's rain out there. Maybe now there are some rain happening. But Santo Domingo de Silos is around 1k of altitude, so it starts already quite high, and it goes up to even higher heights, 1.45. I don't remember what was the biggest height, but you can see in the graphs that first one was blue. That means what? The blue line means that it was individual time trial. So whenever you are going to watch those videos, keep in mind that the blue is time trials, orange is just casual stages, and it's kind of very good thing. When you go in the prologue for time trial, you can go full gas. Then based on that, in UCI regulated races, you are invited to the gates by your performance, by your result. So it's kind of good thing that everything is in your hands basically, but not necessarily always, because it's just I would say hard to compete with climbers, for example, in the stage, which is more or less a lot of climbing. Nonetheless, very good race. I recently did a race analysis about it. It's in the channel as well. And I don't know if you have any question. I mean, for me, it's kind of hard to know if I don't get any response, even if ever it be in the comments for the video as well. What is the most important for you if I do race analysis, for example? Whether it's tactics, strategy, training, just knowing that would be beneficial, so that way I could just tailor something towards that. Because if you have noticed, I stopped doing race analysis after the race in order to be a bit disattached from the actual moments which happened. And once I do race analysis after the fact, well, this came quite late, like 3 or 4 months afterwards. It just gives me perspective to look at it through different eyes rather than just saying, oh yeah, that was amazing. Why it was amazing, what you like that much that you can call it amazing, etc. So in Colina, the views are amazing. if we just break down what amazing is amazing in Colina, the views and the trails were like very nice, but the climbs were quite hard and the terrain is super loose. So if you love dry conditions and clear skies, that's your place. If you like heat, that's your place. If you don't like heat, then you have to take a look at the forecast, what it projects. Because for me, this year it was a luck, because I've been following the forecast and I saw that it's not as hot as it normally is in this race. So that was the reason why I decided that, hell yeah, I have to go there, because you don't necessarily know when it's going to be next time. When in Colina it will be only 30 degrees. You can see more of that here. Top tip for people going there in Colina. You'll see in some pictures I have backpack, and that backpack is actually tip of Jake. So it feels like Jake is somewhere giving me intel what I have to answer. But actually it's funny, because in Rally di Romani it was extremely hot. If you don't know me yet, for me hot is everything above 30 degrees. Actually 28 up it's extremely extreme. It was like very hot, and Jake suggested to use Hydro Pack, which is in the freezer, and in the morning you just take it freezed, put it in the backpack, and it holds for 2.5 hours while racing and 1 hour or so before the race. So you don't sweat, you have hydration, you also have cooling. So if it's hot, for any race, not necessarily Colina, make sure, if you are not be friends with heat, use Hydro Pack the way I did explain there, and thank me later, because this year it was kind of lifesaver when it was very hot days, because I kind of unlocked that. Of course, if I would spend a lot of days before that, in this race I came 3 days or 4 days before the race, so it's not exactly enough for my body to get used to the heat. If I would spend more days out there, most likely I would be acclimatized better, but because I don't, that's why I kind of try to look for hacks, and that one was brilliant from Jake. So thanks a lot, Jake. And it's also worth noting that in our podcast, Jake shares quite a lot of our good tips. So cycling, top cycling with 2 P's. Anyways, podcast is in the channel as well, and you can have a look at it as well. And Before we go into last stage race of this recap, because I'm not seeing questions. Oh, in time. Not in time, Nikki. You are already 1 hour and a half behind. But hello. So basically, I will show you one other thing. Why I go to races in general. So this year, I've been in a few amazing places. And whenever I go into the race, I also try to explore potential location where I could go next. This year, there were 3 places. Be aware that those footages I log, so they are not color corrected. Basically, I checked 3 other races while I am racing in those locations. So one was Alta Colina near Livigno in Bormio. Amazing race course. I kind of thought that maybe I would return there this 2025 as well, but I didn't. And I'm very happy I didn't, simply because the conditions were terrible. Because it was raining all day, it was very cold, etc. But the views in that race, I mean, the longest distance is 100 kilometers plus elevation, but trust me, I mean, it's not Dolomites, it's something different, and that difference is proper. Worth noting is that through this region, Bike Transalp happens, so if you are not aware, Bike Transalp is a state race which crosses through Alps, and it was kind of stopped in 2025, so it was probably one of the years when it was not arranged, so it was disappointing. There are rumors that it might not return, so hopefully it will, because the Bormio-Livigno region, that part of Alps, Italy, is very beautiful. So, lower the video volume. Okay. Thank you. Not now yet. The other race, well, not race, the other location where I've been was this one. So after Colina Triste, the reason why I mentioned that is after Colina Triste, well, it's not playbacking. After Colina Triste, I also had a few days before my flight back home, and I went to BTT Urbion. I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced, but basically it's a bit towards the east from Burgos, and the trails there are like, the difference in that region is that the climbs are long. You can go almost 1k of climb, well, not 1k, 800s maybe at the most in one day, but what goes up must come down. That means that you will go down as well, and I added some, but I think that's the wrong clip maybe. Anyways, I was interested in Thursday happens tonight. It's a bit different than usually. I'm always surprised able to find it's really say, oh, I don't like it. Oh, sorry. Okay. I know what to do with that. That's good that you tell me, because otherwise it would be bad. hopefully I turned it off, because I did this before the actual live, so it might be a bit problematic. Nonetheless, BT2 Urban, I highly recommend you to check this. I mean, it's worth noting that I have no like direct connections with majority of those races at all. Some I'm ambassador, but I wouldn't recommend shit. That I can guarantee you. So, I mean, it's an excuse, but I want to make it clear that I'm not suggesting to go somewhere where I wouldn't want to go myself. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, it's worth noting that those I just checked accidentally, just because I've been there. Now, the last stage race of this year was in Roc d'Azur Trophy. Again, I've been there back to back. And I would say that I wouldn't get there again anytime soon. Reason being, the courses are very similar, and you will see later in the courses previews that it's just not enough variety for the courses to go there again and again and again, even though the trails are nice. But considering how unlucky I was there this year as well in this race, you would get to understand that there are reasons why I'm saying that. Nonetheless, this race analysis is not yet available on the channel, and it will be at some point. But the whole scheme of race is amazing, because you can go segments. You can also do enduro trails. There is very hard third day of this event, and also time trials. So variety of race courses are there. Just the problem is that a lot of things go through the same places. So keep that in mind. The best trail in 2025. Hard to say, because I don't know. Usually in the end of the season, I do one thing, which is from all the onboards, I create segments from Strava where, let's say, it's the steepest descent, etc. And once I review those, I get a better sense what was the best during that year. And that is exactly the reason why I decided to come to Roc d'Azur Trophy, because I created those videos, top 10 trails, climbs, etc. And I'm like, damn, that was good. And I returned there again. And you can see that the longest stage was 105 kilometers. So keep that in mind. It's 6 hours, 30 minutes for me. Took me that much time, but I had a lot of punctures, technical issues, etc. on that race, and it was a huge disappointment. I would call it that way without saying anything more. Nikki is asking, what would be the best one to go in 2026? Excluded June, July, and August. So it's not much remains, Nikki. So I know that it's season high for you at work, but basically you have to change the job, because that's the best time to go racing. Nonetheless, because you already don't have whole summer, maybe Roc d'Azur Trophy would suit you, but I'm afraid that it could be a bit too technical in some places for you. Because based on our history, we know that you are not be friends with technical trails, but you can always walk, right? And walking here is not that long. So Roc d'Azur Trophy happens in October, and the reason why I say that I wouldn't return there again is simply because I already been there 2 times, and just some time has to settle in before I want to return there again. Hopefully I will not changed my mind by October, but nonetheless, it's still a great race. And for someone to experience it at least once, it's something. For example, you go on the climbs. There are one descent and one climb where people are all over the place. Like you go on the climb and like there is a queue of people and they're shouting through microphone, and you put 700 watts on the climb because you don't have that power. It just unlocks. So yeah, that was. No, I'm not saying it's the only reason, but experiencing that adds a bit. Yeah, Nikki is not going to Costa Blanca bike race, I assume. So funny about Nikki. I added some stories, not stories, Instagram reels, so you can check them out. Either on YouTube or in my Instagram, in YouTube Shorts. I'm not making jokes out of Nikki because he was not able to ride some sections. I'm just showing you first impression of person who only had impression from YouTube videos, watching my onboards or highlights, whatever. So a lot of things that happens. People watch the video, thinks that it's easy, I could go there, not necessarily blindly, but not necessarily with eyes closed. But just it's not that hard. Why he's going that slow? That's kind of a definition which quite often I hear, or it's in between the lines. And everything changes when person comes to that place in the first go and notices that camera lies. And Nikki is just the best example of that because he came to Costa Blanca. I took him for the ride, and we firstly did few less hard sections because I know the region quite well and I planned the route that I won't scare him too much. But then we went to, I call that final boss level of Costa Blanca. And there will be one story about, not story, reel about that, which I already prepared of Nikki impressions. And it just was mind-blowing because from the camera it looks like, yeah, I could ride that faster myself. While I've been there 2 times already, I think that way as well. But once you come there back to back, there's always the same thing. You are a bit afraid, have a bit of respect for the trail, and that for me that's the driving force. That's the reason how I am being there and why I go there, because I love that feeling. While for some who come there for the first time, it's not necessarily going to be pleasurable, but the time will come after some time. Then you step up your skills and you come there. I won't say it will be easy. Most likely it will never be there, but you would just have different senses. You would enjoy it a bit differently. Well, not necessarily enjoy, but it will be less scared. Let's call it this way. So, Rock the Tour, I don't know. I have race analysis about that coming at some point. Probably after New Year it will drop in. But if you have any questions about this race, you are free to ask them now, because you will be able to ask them later. But why to wait? Maybe you could already register to the race, like in early bird price. I don't know. What else I can tell you? So there is one other thing I want to show you, and I'm not sure where it will showcase properly, but it's not. Let's see. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Anyways, you still have some time to ask questions if you have them. Yeah, it doesn't work. What I wanted to show you is one other place which I've been there this year, exactly after Rock d'Azur Trophy. I managed to find one other race which happens in the region near Nice, and it was Transriviera, which is 2 days enduro race. I'm not exactly sure how it goes, but most likely you have shuttle, which drives you up to the mountains, and then you just climb down. Not climb, go down. But the race course is like very hard. And because it's enduro primarily, not necessarily mostly, but the trails are extreme, I would say. I would say it's very good comparison with Costa Blanca bike race. I would say it this way. But nonetheless, that's something which I would want to do at some point in the future. And last thing, which I haven't told you just yet, there is other channel where I mostly post onboards only. For example, if I ride in a race through 2 cameras in my channel, this main channel, I split the view into 2 cameras, switch it, and make it a bit of a mess for someone to just enjoy the racing. And because sometimes it's not exactly clear for some who's riding there why the camera changed to someone, etc. So there is a separate channel, crafted onboards, where I just upload a single and edited onboard, and it lives there as it is. And in that, I also plan to add some videos from those riding areas which I showed you, from Alta, Voltellina, as well as BTT Urban and Transriviera. So basically, those onboards will appear at some point, and you could create a better understanding how it is, and maybe you'll choose to go there, maybe not, who knows. But at the same time, you will have that possibility to make a decision on your own. I've been talking a lot. It's 1 hour and a half already, and unless you have any questions, I will open my notebook and I will start answering questions which appeared from one of my fan who made like, I don't know, 20 all right, not 20, 10 good questions, but actually we already answered quite a lot of them, surprisingly. If you would have to point out which type of videos are the most useful on this channel, let me know in the comments, because some ask me about training, training advice, etc., and there were quite some inquiries about that. But once we did podcast with Jake, it appeared that that topic is either exhausted, we are boring, or whatever our reasons. So it's kind of good to get feedback from the side, how we're doing, whether we should continue doing or not, because one way or another we could just sit with Jake together and talk about things if they are not relevant for ours. So that's kind of, that feedback from you is beneficial, because otherwise we will take that for granted, that we are boring, and we will sit together with Jake and just cry. So I'm not necessarily saying that about Jake together with me. Maybe something is wrong with the way I do things and edit or whatever. So it just, again, the feedback is important, and it helps to either change things or grow or learn or whatever. So it's worth noting that I'm not necessarily asking for praises. It's always good to have constructive feedback, even if it's negative. I always love discuss things and even accept the mistakes I make. So don't think that I'm the one who does not accept those. So keep that in mind. With that being said, I think that we kind of exhausted things already. And unless you want one final thing, we can wrap it, I guess. Yeah, there is a saying. I don't know how that sounds in English, but who else gonna hold the cat's tail if it's not himself? So that very much applies about thinking positively, over positively about ourselves. There's one other question. How do I reach peak on race day? That's a good question, and the answer is that I don't necessarily reach my peak form for the race day because my calendar is not always fixed, and that's not my top priority. I would call this way. I train, I try to do my best, but I, at least for now, up to this point, 4 or 5 years of racing, I still haven't reached the point where I would choose my main event of a season. And I'm not saying that it's good. It's a bad example, but that's just the way who I am. And that enables me to do more stuff rather than just focusing on one single thing. And at the same time, if I would be focusing only on my, I'm saying ego because I think results are ego based only. Majority of the time, because apart from what you get on your own as a person, not necessarily anyone else gets anything. So that in mind, I think for myself, it's just great to explore different events. For you, it's good that you get content as well, and at the same time I'm trying my best to perform as well. So it's not always possible, it's not always easy, but I'm on that path. We'll see how it goes and how it will change in the future. Listen to Crafted for Speed podcast, because even though sometimes I admit that we are boring, and while editing I try to cut as much as possible our pauses and all the boring stuff, but there are a lot of value out there. And I can point out one funny, not funny thing, is that I did quite a lot of short cuts from the podcast. Like I added bits on Instagram, YouTube, etc. And it had very low views. That means that, well, there are a lot of reasons for that, but majority is that I think it's oversaturated. That topic of someone talking about something training specific is just a lot of doing that, and it's hard to just separate yourself out of it. Especially, well, I'm not the best at making the podcast, while Jake might have the best knowledge. If it's not showcased in a proper way, it's just not relevant. How do I track and monitor my food and sleep? Somehow towards the end of the year, my sleep always goes into trash. I don't know how and why, but maybe it's because you are trying to squeeze every single bit out of your time in order to meet your yearly goals or whatever. But during the season, I try to go sleep up to 11 p.m. at the most. That's hard, but I just try to do that because I don't know whether it's true or not. But the sleep from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. multiplies by 2 if you go by 10. So if you are sometime at sleep deficit, you should go to the sleep early, so that way you will recover a bit faster. Not scientifically proven by Tom 10, but I heard that somewhere and I'm carrying that message to everyone. So try to go sleep earlier for sure. And diet, that's one of the areas where I could improve a lot, I guess, because I'm not taking care of it pretty much at all. Well, for me, it's hard to justify whether I'm trying to take care of it or not, because most of the time I don't eat total junk. So it's like outside of my diet anyways. So I just eating some sweets or I don't know, burgers or pizzas is what I call that I don't take care of that at all. So I don't know whether it's that would answer the question, but I'm not waiting my waiting my food. I'm not doing anything very strictly about that, and I don't know. Maybe it would help to achieve better results in general. But what I noticed in the past, like I've been doing a lot of gym at some point. Also, I played basketball for a lot of years. And there were times when I was very strict with everything, like only chicken, only rice, and it lasted quite a long time frame. And it's hard to know whether I could have become better or worse, but while doing that, I haven't felt like I'm moving somewhere. Like you would expect that by eating very healthy, etc., you would become, I don't know, you would dunk to hoops easily or whatever by doing heavy training. But maybe it was just different thing. Supplements and vitamins. Sometimes I consume wild vitamins pack. I don't remember how it's called, but basically it's just a pocket where there are some tablets out there. So I consume it like once in during the year or something like that. Yeah, most likely it's spot on thing. Vitamin D during winter, most of the time. Magnesium shots from sponsor. I just consume them. I don't know if they're very good or not, but I like the taste of them. And other than that, I don't consume pretty much anything else. I also mentioned somewhere already that sometimes I have protein shake, but that's like, I don't know, one can of that stuff in a year or so. So it's not like I'm relying on them, but at the same time, sometimes I miss, like after the ride, some drink, which would just not necessarily give me any benefits, whatever, but just to refresh yourself. And instead of eating some, I don't know, bad food intake just right after a workout, because probably it won't help. So sometimes the milk with some powder, which is from canopies, how's that called? So basically just something like that, which is natural, fully natural, I guess. Yeah, I guess that answers the thing. No creatine, no stuff, etc. Because I don't know, maybe it would help me, maybe not. But probably, I think that's kind of a good touch point, that you have to know your body first before you start making any changes for it. So if you would do a lot of things at the current time, how would you know which helped you? So then you at some point feel that you are hitting some bottleneck, you can try to find, I don't know, physiotherapy, additional looking at the food, etc. But you can't do all the, well, it's my opinion, you can't do all the things at once, because you will never know which exactly helped you. So probably that's the thing. And maybe at some point I could stop training and see how I'm progressing down, how fast it goes down or whatever, and then pick it up from there. But it's just the way I see it going. Anything else? You are seeing country statistics, I guess. Yeah, it's country statistics now. So I think those visuals are very beautiful. even though no one said anything like shut those off because they are annoying me, I think that it turned out real well. If not yet, well, there are currently 7 viewers. So hopefully all 7 of those following me on Instagram, and they will have that additional possibility to get glance of those statistics later. If not, I mean, Something Crafted Instagram, you go there, you do the job. I'm not seeing new followers. How so? Anyways, I'm giving you a few more minutes if you have any other questions, and from that point, I guess we can wrap it up. One other thing, there was a question which I got about caffeine usage. So I'm heavy coffee drinker. 3 cups a day is kind of normal for me. That means when I take caffeine during the race, I don't feel that much of a boost anyways, but for sure it helps. So when I have to choose for the caffeine type, it's either in the gel, but I try not to use that much lately. I'm just relying on casual gels without caffeine, and then taking the 200 milligrams shot of caffeine during the race. Depending on the race duration, I would say up to 1 hour before the race finishes. Most of the time I do that this way because what I notice is that if I consume caffeine before the race, I just don't feel that good in the beginning, and then at some point performance deteriorates. But that's personal. You have to just test with yourself. Maybe even it can mean that sometimes you will perform worse on some race. So you have to pick the races where you can also experiment a bit. So that's why some races can behave and act like testing environment for you, rather than just trying to test that during the training, because it's not the same. During the training, you don't have that stress levels which occurs to you while you are racing. So that's something to keep in mind, because nor mentally, nor physically, nor performance-wise, during the race, you are not the same. During the training as well. By the way, I weigh 83 kilograms currently. I would love to go around 80 mark, but those just can disappear if you are not taking care of your nutrition. So hopefully at some point I will start doing that, and you'll see me climbing like a goat, and hopefully that will happen. But if I continue eating everything without taking care of that, probably it will never be. So you have to take into account what you are doing in order to achieve what your goals are. That's probably a casual thing. So I just have a list of questions there which I can still try to answer while you are shy. But yeah, if you are not going to do that in upcoming, I guess we have like up to 2 hours this can turn out to be. So you have still some time to ask anything which you want. And last thing, I guess. Okay, anyways, we can continue going on the screen, or I can show you something from Costa Blanca bike race, because I really like that race. About race tactics, am I going full gas from the start, or I'm doing some negative split towards the end of the race? Usually, there is a saying which my coach does. So shout out to Andreas Dolgovas if at any given point he will watch this. You either go with the boys or you don't. So I always try to go with the boys. So I'm pushing full gas all the time, more or less from the start. And what it gives me is that first thing, it gives you reality check where you're at the given day. It also shows you what you are capable on that day, and that means that you will know whether you can perform or not on that given day. Last thing, you usually get some gap from your peers, which you would normally ride if you want to go that hard from the start, and that means you already won at least something. So going hard from the start is my priority all the time. I'm not saying it's good, it's just the way I see it doing, and it's kind of the influence of the coach. If he wouldn't influence me do that, maybe I would try different things, but I tried it, I loved it, not always, but I think it's just, if you try to be conservative and don't push full gas, I mean, what you are trying to preserve your energy for, unless you are going for the win. But if you're going for the win, those are not the questions to be raised. So my idea of all this racing thing, I always say majority of the time that racing is secondary, and it's kind of true, because for me it's about pushing yourself as much as you can that day, or at least trying, rather than seeking for some specific result, top something, whatever. But that's me. I'm not saying that everyone's the same. At the same time, it's contradictory, because I always try to perform the best I can compared to others as well. So it's not something which you can disattach from, and it's always our side. But what matters the most is which of those parts are the most important for you. For me, result is secondary. The racing is still important, because I try to do those races which I mentioned today, not in the race environment, but just go full gas, more or less, in those courses without anyone around. It's just not the same. That's the reason why I say that during the training you're also not the same as in the race. So it just unlocks something inside you which allows you to push further, and I love that feeling, and that's why I race. If you would want to, you can always share the reasons why you race. Maybe you object to something which I'm saying, and I'm quite open to negotiation and discussion about that in upcoming 3 minutes. So yeah, I don't mind discussing things, even though you could have absolutely different opinion, and that's fine. That's the reason why we have that possibility to express our opinions. What I think about gravel racing, I never tried myself any on the gravel bike, and I don't think I ever will, or I might. But basically, this year I did one social ride where top 10 definitely was not socializing, and we were pushing, and I was one of the only few guys with MTB among gravels. And it was interesting experience. Anikshi Underground, you can check it on YouTube, because I've been basically fighting against gravel bikes around, and it was tough. But what I think about it, I think it's just a matter of people's preference, and it's very easy to say it from the perspective where, imagine someone just coming to racing environment and he don't have skill. I'm not saying that on the gravel you don't need to have skill, definitely you have to, but the learning curve to reach average, above average, even a high level is just not as huge as if we compare in any mountain bike, or if we go more into enduro or downhill where skill is kind of priority completely. So it's just easier way for people to go into that environment without too much skills. And if someone is powerful, it just gives him a better opportunity to fight against someone. And that's the reason why people go to gravel, in my opinion. And yeah, it's sad that MTB is losing participants because of that, but that's just the part. The same happens in Lithuania, the same happens in Latvia, in Poland, the areas where I'm around at. It's the same thing worldwide. And we are actually going towards 2 hours, but if you have questions, we can spend a few more time. But one thing I can point out is that people are trying to go for the easy. The same applies to, well, I'm not saying gravel racing is easy, but it's just step easier compared to mountain bike, and the risk involved are maybe a bit less. But that easy thing, I could just drag topic a bit elsewhere, where everyone wants that it would be as much brainless thing as possible. If you go on a gravel road 5 kilometers straight, you have nothing to do apart just putting power to pedals, which is brainless act. If you choose electric shifting and you go through the power through the gears, it's brainless act. If you choose flight attendant, in order not to touch your lockout anymore at all, you think that you are going with technology, but what you're actually doing is you are eliminating yourself from thinking. And that's not exactly the reason why I don't have electronic stuff on my bike, but that's part of it. So then you're choosing that next time. I would say that about flight attendant, where personally I love control of choosing whether I will be 0.5% slower on that given moment. I don't care, because that's my choice, my preference. But at the same time, it just, I love to think, and people are trying to avoid that, and they are trying to avoid that through different acts, and trying to rely on technology the most is one of them. So that's kind of my take, which is a bit contradictory, I guess. But again, when I say anything like that, I also point out that I drive manual car because I like that. And it's kind of, whether it's influence from my dad, whether it's influence from something else, who knows. But I just love control of what I'm doing rather than just relying on something. So that's just the way I am. Yeah, that's true. What Nikki says is that it's not necessarily only about the time it takes to learn skills. It's also about expenses involved. So the tires wears faster, equipment wears faster on mountain bike as well. Risk involved is higher, so you are always risking, and you have family aside, you have job to take care of, etc. So that's something which builds into the bigger picture, and you start to weigh up whether you should risk that for what, comfort, for your ego or whatever, or you just try to go in more safer path, which is not necessarily safe, but society just wants you to think that it might be better for you. So that's also something to take into account. And at the same time, apart from the gear thing, there's always maintenance, where on the mountain bike, the mud conditions, etc., it also requires additional attention of yours. By the way, behind me, you won't see it now, but there is muddy bike from today's ride. I was during the winter time, I'm very lazy to clean anything because I know that next day it will be exactly the same story, and somehow I just put my old cassette on the bike, use old wheels, and just blindly go through that stuff. Also, I have no longer Fox on my bike exactly for that reason. It's RockShox. The old ones sit on the bike because even though lockout doesn't work fully, I just don't care, and I ride it in order to just go through it rather than take too much gear and spend that extra time which I could spend to something else, like creating those amazing visuals which are no longer on the screen now. Bye bye Jake. It's early for you, but you know that at 10 a.m. 10 p.m. if you go to bed, that's good for you. So bye bye. Yeah, so Kevin, that's exactly the point. Those guys who just go as a first bike on gravel, for example, they definitely don't have those cornering techniques, etc., which some carries from their past experiences or from young days. So depending on the gravel race, I think it can showcase very fast who's who, but there are also races where you wouldn't get that understanding at all because it's all about the power. Yeah, so we are going a bit over the 2 hours already. I appreciate everyone joining, staying, or rejoining, or watching this later after it finishes. Yeah, 2025 was amazing season. 6 stage races, almost 1,800 kilometers ridden in full gas mode. So that's something. I can actually show you that, or not necessarily, whatever. Enough of that data stuff, but it was a great season, and I'm looking forward to what 2026 will bring, which I haven't covered, and the Jake got away already. But basically with Jake we have plans to do at least one race in pairs, which is going to happen quite soon, so stay tuned and we'll see how it goes. By the way, Jake is after very serious hand injury, so we are not exactly sure how good or bad he will be in the trails, but we'll see. We are taking both that risk, and we will see how it turns out to be. My pleasure, Paul. One thing which I forgot to say is that the reason why race analysis are good is people learn stuff like intel, which they later can reuse in their own races if they are going there. I was specific ones or not necessarily, and that exactly happened this year in Rock d'Azur, where guys who after watching my videos came to like queues early, to the gates early, and they just won. So it was funny, and they also mentioned that for me in person, so that was also fine. Not fine, that was nice. My focus in 2026, MTB wise, it's funny. I want to start to do the wheelie. Do you think it will work or not? Because technically I can't. Well, I can admit that I'm not able to pull a wheelie for properly. And I have some plans about that. Maybe it will be executed towards the spring or so, but to cover that specifically, I think that skills is what needs to be stepped up in order not to lose time, where I could either keep going with the peers or maybe even going faster, because there are times, the reason why I go to technical and hard races is to pinpoint my weaknesses rather than just showcase how cool or whatever I am. So it's all about the learning stuff, not about going on the same path all the time and thinking that you are the best. So always you have to progress further in order to move anywhere. If you are at the same place, well, basically that means you are slightly moving backwards, and that's not what we should do as human beings. Yeah, so I think we can wrap this up. Video will probably appear somewhere on YouTube. I have no idea how it works, but somewhere I will figure it out. And you could leave the comments there if you have any. And at the same time, you could also leave the comments elsewhere in the race analysis of specific races, etc. Yeah, you know, Nikki, wheelie is just one part of a puzzle. And what type of puzzle, I will let you know later. So it was a pleasure, everyone, and I think I'm wrapping this up. Bye bye.